What is good, everybody? Welcome to a brand new edition of L Boogie and the Bell. I am the Bell, of course, here with L Boogie. How we doing today?
Hey
L
man, we
Boogie.
doing great. Hey, I'm doing fantastic, man. Hey, had a great weekend of football. Tuned in some great conference championship games. Ready to talk about them and dive in.
Alrighty. Now this show's gonna be a little bit different. Usually we have like a perfect itinerary. I consider this week one of the most boring weeks because we're not too excited about the NBA season. We're just before March Madness, and unfortunately we have to go through another painful Pro Bowl weekend where we're not even putting pads on anymore. But we get to hear a couple announcements and we get to see all the guys who get honored for the season and who made it to the Pro Bowl. Do we have Pro Bowl selections out yet?
Pro
That's been
Bowl,
out,
yeah,
right?
the Pro Bowl's been announced. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying like who made it in and who didn't.
yeah, they announced it, and
Yeah,
they've announced like even replacements and everything for players who opted out or whatever.
for sure. So I usually like. I mean, I don't really care. I don't really hear about who made it to the Pro Bowl until the year after. But the most exciting thing is we could actually talk about how our championship weekend went. So, Boogie, first and foremost, let's start with the game that you picked: the Taylor Swift versus the Lamar Jackson. How do you feel about the result in that game and knowing that you came out on top on your pick?
Hey man, I've been a Swifty since day one, so I wasn't even surprised by the. I'm just kidding. I'm just joshing. But no, I did pick the Chiefs to go into Baltimore and win. The game was it was more defensive than I thought it was going to be. Like, I don't think the Chiefs won that game because Patrick Mahomes was great. He was efficient. He didn't turn the ball over. He made the right throws when he needed to. But really, it was the defenses. It was like, all right, whose defense held on most? And the Chiefs' defense, they got the crucial stops and the crucial turnovers when they needed it. So that's why they won the game. So
I mean, what, 14 receptions to Travis Kelsey? That's why you won the game. I mean,
uh,
you want to talk about a big dude who catch the ball 7 yards down the field and then fall forward for the first down. That's what did it for me. That was like I was in shock. Like it felt like every single play, especially in that first half, like every single play, every pivotal moment, every just drive down the field. It was one of the boringest, slowest games, one of the silliest mistake games. I actually did watch all of that game. The part that hurt me the most was I felt like the Ravens, the opportunities that they did get to score, I felt like they didn't deserve. And I felt like the opportunities where they did deserve to score, they didn't take advantage of. So what I'm talking about is I didn't really like the drive where he fumbled in the end zone. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like the start of the drive. I didn't like how
mm,
they got down the field. And I felt the fumble coming. I didn't feel the fumble coming. I just felt like they weren't going to score on that drive. Now, the drive where they had the big play and then Lamar building all the momentum and then throwing the most random pick in the back of the end zone. Tony
yeah, that was
Romo kept saying it like every ball was like 2 feet too far, 2 yards too far, and I just like so a lot of his passes were really awkward.
that
It
throw wasn't even a good choice. He was in like he had like double coverage. Like he was not really open.
and I just felt like that drive they just scored to go up to 7, and get back into this football game. Not even get back in. It would have been 14-17. Then they could have came back for that field goal. Um, when he fumbled, I didn't like that drive for some reason. Like I kind of just felt it. But yeah, they didn't get going. I thought it was gonna be similar to the Texans game where they're gonna start running away with it at the end, which is a very tough thing to say towards Patrick Mahomes because he's ready to shoot out with you. But yeah, both teams kind of showed us something different. It was a boring game. It was an unfortunate game. It wasn't that exciting. The most exciting part for me was Travis Kelsey in his 30s, Patrick Mahomes, like that the connection that they had saying like, oh, we're going back to this Super Bowl. Like I didn't feel like I was watching a rigged game. I didn't feel like I was watching them cheat. I didn't maybe a controversial call, like one or two controversial calls. I mean, we all expected 10, so Taylor Swift could get to the Super Bowl. I mean, I just saw them dominate the first half. And in the second half, they just managed the game and they just went based off of every single Ravens poor choice. I mean, amazing defensive coach game by the Chiefs. Like that was amazing. I mean, you
Dude,
were a number one. You were one of the top five defenses coming into the game, but to manage it in the second quarter to make Lamar Jackson realize in the fourth quarter that he could run when there's nobody down the field. For 3 quarters, they made Lamar Jackson think he was Tom Brady. They had him sitting in the pocket. They tested him to see like pass it. We're not gonna rush you. We have no reason. Pass it. Sit there. Stay there. It took until the fourth quarter where Lamar's like, I can't just run 8 yards up the field. Like I can't just get the first down. I was just like, well, after that very explosive play in the first half, you remember when he just like took off free
oh
space,
yeah,
Lamar
yeah,
Jackson thing? I'm like, why didn't they stick to it? I don't know.
I got two things. One, the Chiefs defense, and specifically their starting corner, L'Jarius Sneed. I feel like he doesn't get talked about as much, but he's low key like a really good corner. He always takes on the number one receiving threat for whoever they're playing against. He's the one who punched that ball out of Zay Flowers' hands right before the end zone. He caused that fumble. Like you watch the replay, he comes in,
He's gonna get some
knocks
money
that
for
thing
that.
out.
Yeah, he's getting paid for
So
that.
he's a dog. He's a baller, man. So shout out to him. But yeah, the Chiefs defense was great. Baltimore's defense was. I mean, Kansas City didn't score any points in the second half, so both defenses were playing really good. But you do bring up a really interesting point about Lamar and how he just kept trying to throw from the pocket. And I mean, it's really like how how much of that do you think is like outside pressure? Because everyone knows, oh, he's a running quarterback. Of course, he can win by running. But we saw him in that game. He kept trying to throw. He kept trying to sit in the pocket and throw the ball. Like he was trying to win that way instead of winning the way that he's done it in the past. How much of that do you think is because of him wanting to silence the doubters?
So fundamentally, Lamar Jackson knows how to pass the ball. Lamar Jackson can hit his target. Lamar Jackson's been in positions where we're looking at his receivers crazy, like you couldn't catch that ball. So fundamentally, if you have a four-man rush, maybe even the five, let's say, but every man's picked up and you have time back there, you want to trust your quarterback to get it to his target. The problem was he wasn't just getting it to his target. Their schemes aren't as complex as the defense as the Chiefs were probably ready to play. Like a Travis Kelsey randomly being open, like we don't know Travis Kelsey's gonna be able to catch the ball if you give him a chance. But the adding Mark Andrews back into the system, I don't even know if that necessarily helped because it's like he was looking for that target and he got that target on the scoring drive that they had in the first half. Like he was hitting him. It's just I think they gave him the opportunity to say, you can play like Tom Brady. We'll give you the option. We respect your passing skills, so we're going to give you a chance. We're just going to cover everything. And there was just like off passes, and he just kept sticking it out instead of just picking up the 4 yard game, 4 yard game, 4 yard game. That's a first down. That's only 3 plays. Um, I just think that fundamentally, as a coach, you're just like, oh man, all he has to do is hit his target. But if you're not used to that style of play day in and day out, it looked like a 7-on-7 game, did it not? Like,
Oh yeah, with
I
how like
did you feel
yeah.
like Lamar was like gonna die at any moment? Like, damn, they're really coming for him. Was that 4-man rush like
His,
attacking his
I was
heart?
gonna say
No.
his old line was protecting him. He was able to sit in the pocket forever. Like
So
yeah,
if you're the Ravens offensive coordinator, you're like fundamentally Lamar needs to be able to hit his target if they want to play this game. He did. They had great plays. They had, you know what I mean, but it wasn't their style of play when he could have just been getting 4 yards, 4 yards. They could have got 4 field goals, I feel like, out of, 1, 2, 3, like, well, I'm gonna scramble out and get 3 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards, first down, long drive. Because guess who did do it? The Chiefs. We're talking about they had like out of how long is a football game? 15 like
60 minutes, man.
60 minutes. Out of 60 minutes, like I'm pretty sure the Chiefs had it about 50 minutes. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like the Chiefs had no problem accepting what they were best at. And they were playing a great defense. Shouts out to the Ravens defense. They're like, shit. We might not be able to shoot out with these guys, but shit, let's just outmanage them. Let's stay on the field for as long as we can. So I think that they really got in Lamar's head because with the 3-and-outs that they were having, pass it. Run on first down, pass it. Pass it again. Pass it, punt. So I just thought that the game plan was amazing. And in a different world, if Lamar would have hit his targets just a little bit more, if he didn't fumble that, we'd be looking at a totally different Super Bowl. I don't feel
Yeah,
like I watched a rigged game. Like I did, there was nothing about that game that felt rigged. I just felt like they were
yeah,
outcoached, outplayed, and they gave them all the opportunities. I don't feel like nobody threw the game, but I do feel like somebody choked the game. No, excuse me. I feel like a team choked the game. Yeah.
yeah. No, I felt like this was one of the cleaner games that we watched this postseason. Um, yeah, nothing really stood out to me. I think if Lamar would have just, I don't know. I've seen clips and replays from the game, and there's just times where he has nothing, like 15 plus yards of daylight in front of him. He can just take off and run, and he's just standing there, just looking to throw. I feel like he thought a little too much, and didn't let his instincts kind of take over in the game. So
And see, Lamar Jackson's a dog, so it's like maybe an injury was involved, overthinking, or like you said, like the pressure of like, well, I know how to sit in this pocket and throw the football. So I don't know. I rock behind Lamar Jackson next year and the following year. It's just this is such a tough year because there was nothing about that game that I didn't see a reason why they could have won. But that game helped me realize like how willing the Chiefs have established that they're willing to play any type of game. That slow, that boring. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to be Superman with a cape. He could be an absolute game manager, slow everything down. That lets me know that is a true championship slash future dynasty team, which they will be if they win this year. If not, I'll give them till next year if they make it back. Then they could be a dynasty. But yeah, I just think the Chiefs, the game plan was just absolutely amazing. I don't think the Chiefs went in there saying we could beat these guys by 14. I think the Chiefs were in there saying, you know what, they're a better team than us. We could beat them by 7 points.
yeah,
So
pretty crazy game. But the other game was a completely different story. The NFC Championship with the Lions and the Niners. Um, I don't know. Did you watch that whole game?
So I absolutely missed the fourth quarter because I had to go to
Mm,
work, which was just very annoying, and I had it on my phone and it kept cutting off. But I watched the entire third quarter, and I watched them run the ball to death in the first and second quarter, which I've never seen a better display of running the football. Never. I thought that this was just. I thought I'm like the seven. I was like I don't even. The 49ers suck. That's what I was thinking. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is another game I don't feel like was rigged. Like I felt like the 49ers came out with a new energy and they used momentum on their side, and I think that they got a hell of a fumble. And I think that they used that fourth down that the Lions didn't convert on to really pick up steam and go for it. Now, I liked when they went on fourth down. Catch the ball. You catch the ball, you guys are in the Super Bowl. That one play changed the aspect. The fumble sucks because you were having so much success running the ball. You were just like you were like you. The fumble sucks, but him not catching the ball on that fourth down really shifted the game for me. And the end of the game, I mean, hey, you let people come back by 17 points, and not only did you let them come back from 17-point deficit, you let them score 10 points instead of just seven. If it was just seven or just three, guess who's in the Super Bowl? But you let them score an additional 10 points on that. So that's 27 points. You can't win a championship game giving up 27 points in the third and fourth quarter. What you think?
it was the tale of two halves, man. Like that first half, it looked like Detroit was about to go crazy. Like they got everything they wanted and then some in the first half. Because not only was their offense firing on all cylinders, the freaking first touchdown, they do the end around and Jamison Williams just runs it for 40 yards. Like that just showed like the tone of the game. And, I don't know. I was watching with a bunch of 49ers fans and the room was quiet. Nobody, nobody was saying anything. It was looking like a freaking nightmare. And I don't know. I don't know what happened with the Lions. It just and my thing is with them, they were up so much. You don't need to come out in the second half and completely dominate like you did in the first half, but you need to get something going. they couldn't really get any long sustaining drives going in that second half. Obviously, they missed a bunch of key plays, especially down the stretch. I'm not going to fault Dan Campbell on the going for it for fourth down because he's
At
done it.
all.
He's done it all season. It's his thing. Like he's aggressive. So,
But wait, his quarterback got the pass got off. The
oh yeah,
offensive line blocked. The quarterback got the ball in his hands. He dropped the ball.
yeah,
It wasn't a hard catch. It wasn't. He dropped the ball. And as a coach, as an organization, as a fan, you look at that and be like, yeah, what the last thing anybody should blame is that. And then you can't blame your coach for your running back fumbling with all the success from the first half. I just think it didn't feel rigged. It didn't feel bad. It just felt like a strong momentum shift. And we cannot forget that the San Francisco 49ers have a goddamn squad. They do, offensively. Now, that defense in the first half, you can't give up 140 yards like that.
dude.
Running backs dream of getting 140 yards per game. So 140 in the first half is just madness.
I don't know what it is. I mean, on paper, the Niners defense is fantastic, but I don't know. This whole season, their defense has been very suspect. I personally think it's the defensive coordinator. They got Steve Wilkes after having D'Amico Ryans be great last year for their defense. So I feel like I don't know. The defense is questionable, even though they have plenty of talent, plenty of stars. They just look like they get pushed around, and I think that's going to give them trouble because the thing is, if you give Kansas City that same momentum, I don't know if you'll have an opportunity to come back in the second half and win. But we'll talk about that more next week. But I mean, I don't know with the Lions. I think the good thing about the Lions, and we did talk about this last week, is that even though they did lose heartbreaking fashion in this game, they still had a fantastic season. They still
Oh,
made
thank you.
the city of Detroit proud. They still have a lot to look forward to for next year. That's what I'm that and honestly, like there are a couple teams in the NFC I'm already envisioning. I think the Niners, this is their year. I definitely see a drop off for next year. But the teams that I'm worried about for next year in the NFC, Green Bay, Detroit. Those two teams, I feel like we could see that in the NFC Championship again next year because Detroit has all the makings of a good team. Great offensive line, great run game. You're getting both of your running backs back for another year. All of your talented rookies, a year older, more experienced. Jared Goff is being efficient. They kept their
Did Jared
offensive.
Goff do anything wrong? Did he do anything wrong in that game?
No, he was okay. He was fine. They didn't lose that game because of him. Um,
Like, I
and I
I think Jared Goff deserves. I thought the Lions are hot. They lost that
and
game because of momentum.
and a big thing too with them is when you see teams have really good seasons, what usually happens is at the next season they lose a coordinator who goes to be a head coach. You lose an
Yeah, head coach.
offensive, a defensive coordinator. Their offensive coordinator, who everyone was like, "Oh, he's a great head coaching candidate," he announced either today or yesterday he's staying in Detroit. So you get to keep
They
your
won
offensive
it.
coordinator. Their defensive coordinator, I think he's getting interviewed by, I think the Washington Commanders are the only team still looking for a head coach. So odds are your defensive coordinator is going to be back next year too. So if you draft well and draft a couple key spots, I think they got some holes in the secondary to fill. So if they go and draft some good secondary players who can be impact players, the Detroit Lions are going to be back. We're going to see them in the divisional round, the conference championship next year. So I don't know. I think the future looks
So
good, even though they lost this
picked up the
game.
who picked up the Falcons though?
Hmm?
Who picked up the Falcons though?
They hired what's his name? Oh, they hired the Rams defensive coordinator.
Belichick. He's gonna take
Oh,
a year off.
Belichick doesn't have a job. He does not have a job.
Yeah, he's good.
Seattle hired the Ravens defensive coordinator. They
Wow,
hired the Ravens defensive
that's a
coordinator. So
tough
now,
loss.
so Washington is the only organization looking for a head coach for next year.
Yeah, I would refuse to take that job. And
Yes,
who picked up Carolina?
Carolina, they hired the Buccaneers offensive coordinator.
Is he black?
Nah, he's a white dude. I don't know his name, but Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of a random hire in my opinion, but I think nobody wanted the Panthers job. That job looks kind of terrible. So
Mike
yeah,
Tomlin couldn't take that team anywhere.
no. So I don't know what's happening with Belichick. But I know at least for the Lions, they're running it back. They're keeping that same
Yeah,
pretty much
yeah.
same team, same coaching staff. So you know, I think they got an opportunity to be great again.
Well, shifting gears a little bit, what's some sports news that you came across or anything else? Anything? Oh, how do we feel about John or Jim
Oh,
Harbaugh?
Jim Harbaugh
Man.
and
They're
the
brothers.
Chargers,
So,
man.
what do you
Um,
think the Chargers do next season?
dude,
What do you think that hire does for the Chargers? How about that? Let's start there.
I don't like it. Oh, well,
Ooh,
let me
wow.
rephrase. No, let me rephrase. If I was a Chargers fan, I would love it. As a Broncos fan, I don't like it. So, I think Jim is going to turn around, and I think he's gonna get the most out of his system, of the talent that they have on the Chargers. I think the thing with that team is they've always had the talent, at least the last couple of years. They just never have had the direction, and
I completely agree.
I think he provides the direction. He's gone everywhere he's coached and won and done good. So why can't he take a team with a bunch of talent and turn it around? Now, the only caveat with the Chargers is they're in a bad space financially. They're probably going to have to let go a couple pieces, maybe a Khalil Mack, maybe a Derwin James, like something. You're not going to have the same talent next year, but with Jim Harbaugh at the helm, I think they're going to be a really well coached team. Unfortunately, they do play in a tough division. You have to play
That
Patrick Mahomes twice. Hopefully, Sean Payton and whoever's playing quarterback for the Broncos next year. Hopefully, they're a challenge. I don't know. The Raiders had a lot of momentum moving at the end of the season, and they retained the interim coach, so Antonio Pierce is back again. So that division is not going to be easy. So I'm not saying
so,
Jim is going to have a great first year or an easy first year. I think in a year or two from now, we could be talking about the Chargers being real serious.
the only thing that sucks about that Chargers job is the division because unfortunately the AFC West next year probably is not going to be the AFC North where three teams get in because the AFC North will return next year. Trust me. Trust and believe the AFC North will always have a Steelers Ravens competing for playoff spots, one division, one wild card, and we can't rule the Browns out yet, especially if they could get a good quarterback in there. Now, with that said, the Chargers job is so tough because if you think about it, so Chiefs twice, the defending AFC championship team twice, right? We'll see who they lose in the offseason. I don't see a Kelsey retiring. I don't see nothing crazy. I actually see them getting stronger.
They might
Um,
they might lose Chris Jones.
that'd be tough. Um, the Broncos are no factor, unfortunately. And Antonio Pierce, I know for a fact that he got rough riders. If you look at the Raiders locker room, they're like, nah, we don't like that corporate American. We dogs and we're gonna play like dogs. And if they get a quarterback who's on that dog business, they're gonna come to play next year. Like they want a dog that quarterback. Like if Lamar Jackson was on the Raiders, that team ain't playing. That's a bunch of dogs in Las
Yeah.
Vegas, Nevada. Like what would be better than Las Vegas, Nevada? Like I think that they're gonna be ready to take not try to get a playoff spot, but take a playoff spot. And when you take a playoff spot, it changes the whole aspect. So I do think Jim
Jim,
Harbaugh? Yeah.
Jim.
I do think Jim's gonna have a lot of trouble in the AFC because they're not gonna care. They're gonna be like, okay, that little college championship is cute. I don't think Antonio Pierce is gonna care about it both games. The Chiefs are not gonna care about it both games. And you're looking at hopefully, it is a divisional rival. You're looking at two Broncos games within your division, but you're talking about a tough division, your tough wild card spots. Look at the Colts. Don't think the Texans aren't coming back next
Hey,
year.
don't forget the Bengals either and Joe Burrow. Like, if he,
They can make their comeback. I gotta see them do it just because of Joe Burrow's health. It's either gonna be really good for Bengals or it's gonna be all the way Joe Burrow's injuries, and I mean that's just history. 1 year fully injured. Next year, Super Bowl. Next year, fully injured. I mean, this upcoming year, Super Bowl contending season. Like
Oh,
it's a bad division all the way to conference to start in to turn it around, knowing how much talent you have. But I could definitely see an 8 and 9 season. I think that's fair, especially compared to the piss poor season they had last season. So
nice take.
yeah, what's the thumbs up?
Nice take.
Any
Yeah,
other
we'll
headline
see.
storyline?
Last thing, the NFL honors is next Thursday. All of the season awards. Um, so MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, really MVP. I think we all know Lamar Jackson's going to get the MVP. It's not really a debate, but there's a couple debates about some of the awards. So one is, who do you think should be the Offensive Rookie of the Year? Because really, the two top contenders are
Um,
Puka Nacua and C.J. Stroud.
I'd say C.J. Stroud just because of what his team did, and Puka
Nacua.
Nakua, he has a really good quarterback. He's a really talented kid, but what C.J. Stroud means to the Texans is more than what he means to the Rams. You know, but to outshine, what's his name? To outshine the white boy, the receiver.
Cooper Cup.
To outshine Cooper Cup that bad was pretty cool. Like that's pretty good because that means you have a pretty promising career. And if you watch an interview or two from him, he's not cocky. He's not like a diva. He's more like a safety living a receiver's dream. So like he's a really cool dude. I like him a lot. I just like C.J. Stroud because of what he meant to the Texans. I believe was bigger than what bro meant to the Rams.
I don't know. I mean, Cooper Cup spent a lot of time injured this season, and Puka Nacua gave them production at the wide receiver spot when they really needed it. And they ended up being a playoff team. Granted, nobody expected them or the Texans to be playoff teams, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I think CJ Stroud will win it just because a lot of the awards are quarterback biased anyway. But I think Puka
I
Nacua, if Puka Nacua did win it, I wouldn't be upset because he also deserves it too.
I mean,
And
yeah.
uh,
All right. Next one.
next one, offensive player of the year. So I'll just read you the finalists, and you can tell me who you think it's going to be. The finalists are Tyreek Hill, Lamar Jackson, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, and Dak Prescott. I don't really get how Dak ended up on there, but those are the five.
I like Christian McCaffrey. I like Christian McCaffrey. If those are my finalists, I like Christian McCaffrey the most. Um, I just think he out healthy Tyreek by 1 game, huh? 1 or 2 games.
I feel like they both missed one game,
I thought
maybe,
Christian missed one, Tyreek missed two.
maybe. It
Okay.
was close. They were both available for the majority of the season.
Whoever was healthier, Tyreek and Christian are bigger for their teams than their quarterbacks. And that's a strong statement because Brock Purdy was a candidate and Tua Tagovailoa was a candidate for MVP. And they're still bigger to me. They're bigger than their quarterbacks, and their quarterbacks were considered MVPs before they were. I like Christian McCaffrey just because he edged them out. I believe he edged them out just by playing an extra game. But I mean, Christian McCaffrey is everything to that team. A little quiet this weekend, wasn't he?
He had 2 touchdowns. He didn't have like a crazy
Oh, that's supposed to
game, but he
run.
had he
Yeah.
had a productive game. I don't see it is it's tough because Christian and Tyreek. I mean, you take them away from those teams, they're completely different offenses. We
Well,
saw Miami with when Tyreek Hill. I think they played the Tennessee Titans, and Tyreek Hill was like hurt in that game for the majority of it. They looked, they just looked like they're just a really bad offense to say
yeah.
it a nice way. Uh, Same with Christian, though. Christian's everything to that 49ers offense. I think if Christian
Everything.
McCaffrey had gone down at any point this season, the Niners would not be going to the Super Bowl. They just wouldn't. You need that explosive player. You need someone who's gonna do it all running back, especially for Brock Purdy. You need a do it all running back. Um, So I don't know. It's not really an easy decision. I think you bring up a good point about the health. So maybe the health is the reason why Christian McCaffrey um, might take it. And also he's a candidate for he's one of the 5 finalists for MVP too. So
Yeah,
I
I think offensive player of the year. He gets it pretty soundly.
yeah. All right, and the last controversial one. Who should get the comeback player of the year? The
Damar Hamlin.
so the
I mean,
the
that's a lot to come back for. He
the
did a
candidate
lot of shit that made me think like this is somebody who had a heart attack last year.
like okay, here's my thing, right? I'm pretty sure Damar Hamlin is going to win this award. I mean, he came back from literal death, but it's like I don't know. I feel like some other candidates have more claim to the award. You look at a Baker Mayfield, you look at a Tua Tagovailoa. I think those
Jared
two.
Goff.
Jared Goff isn't one of the finalists. So
Well,
the finalists
last
are
year, what
Joe.
did they do? Just have an average season?
They were like
It was good
one
for
game.
average.
They were like one game off of making the playoffs. One game off,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure he was
So,
throwing the hell of the ball.
but Joe Flacco, Damar Hamlin, Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, Tua had a lot of concussion issues last year. We all saw the footage where he was, having like
Yeah, but Damar Hamlin
spasms
died.
on the field. Damar Hamlin did yeah.
Die
He's
legally
going
dead.
to he's going to win the award. But I guess my only thing is with it, if I wouldn't have an issue with it if he would have played more. I think he only played in 3 or 4 games this season, and he played very, very little. Um, you
Just to
know,
have a heart attack and still like the league have to watch you because they can't necessarily fire you, especially if you get cleared. I mean, I mean, you probably got teammates scared to hit you. You have, it's tough. So I don't know. I think,
here's my thing though, and my thing is with Demar, you're right, they can't fire him, but I don't see them keeping him whenever his contract is done, which may be this season. I don't see him getting re-signed. It's not like was playing stellar, but like a player like Baker Mayfield, if Damar Hamlin hadn't had the incident last year, then I think Baker Mayfield would be the clear cut choice for this award. Um, Baker Mayfield's going to get an extension. The Bucks are
oh yeah,
95% going to sign him to a deal and keep him on that team for the next 2 to 3 years. I don't think the case is going to be the same for Damar Hamlin.
yeah. I think just because of the situation, just because of the speech that he'll give at the ceremony, I think he got that one pretty handily. Who absolutely I always hate the comeback player because it's kind of like the most improved. Like you remember in school, like there was always like who got the most improved. So it's like you were so far behind that they were surprised that you got better. Like it's not necessarily a nice award. So it's not like you're the most standout. It's like that one kid where you're like, damn, we can't believe you got this smart. Like we didn't see it in you, son. So we're gonna give you this award. So Baker
Yeah.
Mayfield did take the Browns, somewhere, and he got a couple of bad cards handed to him. And
Well,
where did he bounce around? He was the
just think,
backup for
because think
Matthew,
last year he played on Carolina. He started 2 games or 3 games, whatever. Then they
and then I
released him.
magically ended up
Then
in
he
L.A.
went. Then he went to L.A. He played, I think, 1 or 2 games when Matthew Stafford was out. And he played well in those games. So he had just a down season. Nobody believed in Baker Mayfield a year ago. Everyone was like, "Oh, is Baker just going to be a career backup?" Um, and he comes
Baker
out
used to
and
throw 500 yards in college, man. So maybe a Drew Lock. If Drew Lock had the season that Baker Mayfield had this year, comeback player of the year over Damar Hamlin. But it's still Baker Mayfield. Like Baker Mayfield knows how to sling the rock. He's never forgot. He just had some
well,
bad cards dealt to him.
yeah,
The
they're
Carolina Panthers, and he did good with the Rams, did he not?
he in the game or two he played. Yeah, he did good.
So we give Baker more credit. I don't think it was as big of a comeback as much as him being put in a good opportunity. Like I said, I will always say this. I'll probably say this next year. I will say this until Mike Evans and Chris Godwin retire. Plug in a lot of quarterbacks into Tampa Bay system. I don't know if they've had the same offensive coordinator for the past 4 years, but they've had a clear cut system on a productive offense every single year. And plugging Baker into that is the one thing that he's been looking for since his career has started. Same with a Jameis Winston, same with a Tom Brady. You plug a lot of people into those systems, they're gonna succeed and they're gonna flourish with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, with this award, it is kind of how you interpret it. How I see it is, all right, who has experienced adversity last year and then turned around this year and did well. That's kind of how I interpret this award.
Adversity, death,
Adversity. Death is a hell of an adversity. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Come on.
That is
if
a
he
hell
doesn't
of
get
an
another contract, like he's gonna tell his kids, like, yeah, I had a heart attack in the middle of a football game. They're like, oh my God, Dad, like, and that ended your career? Like, no, I actually went back the next year and played, and then I got cut because I was, but it's like to be able to say, like, no, I got back in there. I did hitting drills, and you know, that's history. But
Yeah.
Baker just being the quarterback that he deserved to have an opportunity to be wasn't that huge for me. And Matthew Stafford, I don't like what that man just won a Super Bowl. He doesn't need that award.
It's because he was hurt last year. I mean,
Uh,
they have Joe Flacco on here as one of the finalists. And
Joe Flacco's a good candidate. If he would have won one playoff game, I would have gave it to him, even though it's a season award. Joe Flacco was a man sitting on his couch, like, I could still play with these guys. And he came back. Not only did he play with these guys, he played damn good. That's off the couch. You want to believe that he was practicing as intense as he did before Super Bowl season and what, 2014, 13? One of those
12, 20, I don't
12?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to believe he was practicing that hard? I love it. That was more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Think about that. That was more than 10 years ago. And that wasn't his rookie season he won the Super Bowl. That was more than 10 years ago.
Joe is old. Joe is old and tired. He was Sean, I don't
Hell
know if
of
he
a
has
comeback.
kids,
If
but
he had 8 to 10 games, he deserves it. But he only had what, 5 to 6?
I think he played the last 5 games of the regular season. He did great in those games. Don't get me wrong, he did fantastic in those games, but not enough of a sample size to warrant an
Hell of
award.
a
But
comeback.
it's cool. It's cool. He as a finalist though. I think that's cool. That's recognition enough.
Give me that defensive player of the year. I just want to know who's losing to TJ Watt.
Defensive player of the year. The finalists are got it right here. So there's Deron Bland. He's the cornerback for the Cowboys. He set the record for the most pick sixes in the season. Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and of course TJ Watt.
I mean, I got Max Crosby second, and then I got Max Crosby runner up, and then dude with the picks record, of course, because I just saw a couple of his picks, and they were just going nuts for him, like another pick six, and I'm like, yeah, that was up. But he had like 2 in one game against a good team they were playing, and I was like, yeah, that's nuts. I got him third. What about you?
I just because Myles Garrett is just such a dominant force. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I say Myles Garrett is the runner up. Then
Wow.
I know. Then I
Max
can see it.
Crosby was a goon out there all year.
No. Then I personally I put Max Crosby at third and
Yeah.
Deron Bland at fourth. That's what I would say.
Six pick sixes, though. Six.
Six is crazy,
Crazy.
but
You know how much points he scored? 6 times 6 is 36.
36. He scored 36 points. Yeah. But no, I mean, here's my thing, right? All of these guys, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, you have to game plan for these guys. Nobody was game planning for Deron Bland. Nobody was. Everybody's game planning for these guys. Maybe, but they weren't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
game plan for Max Crosby, damn sure game plan for TJ Watt, and you damn sure plan for Micah Parsons. Like you plan for Micah Parsons, especially early in this season. Towards the end, we kind of saw how things faded out, but playoffs for sure. But yeah, towards the end of the season, there was a lot of slip ups, especially in that Packers game.
Right.
But yeah, and then I don't really care for it, but defensive rookie of the year.
Defensive rookie, yeah, we got Will Anderson for the Houston Texans, Jalen Carter in Philadelphia, Joey Porter Jr. in Pittsburgh, Kobe Turner for the Los Angeles Rams and Devon Witherspoon for Seattle. Um, I think Jalen Carter was the pick for the first half of the season, but his production really took a nosedive towards the back half. Same with the rest of the Philadelphia team. So I think Will Anderson, who had more of an emergence over the course of the season, I think he's probably going to get that Defensive Rookie of the Year award. If not him, then I don't know, maybe Devon Witherspoon.
Okay. Didn't care that much for that one. Don't know enough. Don't know enough. Got to pay more attention. But
Want to
let's
hear coach?
do.
You want to
And
hear
then,
Coach of the Year?
what's his name? Go ahead.
Coach, we got Dan Campbell, John Harbaugh, D'Amico Ryans, Kyle Shanahan, and Kevin Stefanski for the Browns.
Did you say the Lions coach?
Yeah, Dan Campbell.
Yeah, Dan. I didn't know if you. I didn't. I don't know why I brought that up. Yeah, Dan Campbell. Period.
You don't think D'Amico Ryans has an argument for it?
Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons have won like 3 games this year, bro. Detroit has
give
not
them credit.
won
I think they're up
a
to 5 or 6.
championship. They haven't won a playoff game in like 30 years. They haven't won a championship in like 100 years. Please, please give their coach, who got them 2 playoff wins. 2! Not just one, but 2 playoff wins and almost a Super Bowl appearance.
Well,
I know it's an in-season award, but what the city of Detroit gets out of this season is far past anybody's belief. What, 11-5, 11-6, or 12-5?
12-5.
Come on, man.
But D'Amico Ryans, rookie coach, rookie quarterback. You know, Dan Campbell had 3 years to turn. This is his 3rd year turning Detroit around, and he's done a fantastic job, of course. But this is his 3rd year. D'Amico Ryans stepped foot in Houston, brought the energy, and got them to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback and a roster that nobody thought was going to do anything. We thought the Texans were going to be a bad team this year. Everyone knew the Lions had a chance to be good this season. The Texans, we had no expectations, and look what happened. We're like, whoa, they're actually really good. And the Pistons have won 6 games so far this season.
I don't want to take away from either of them, but I think the group effort between those players coming out to actually play, because don't get me wrong, the Texans still could have missed the playoffs. They rallied to make the playoffs. And I do believe the players came to play, and I guess you do need a strong coach to take them and be like, y'all know we could do it this year. And not only can we do it this year, we can win this first playoff game, and we could beat the Ravens. I do believe the coach helped, but I will give it more equal than Dan Campbell being like, I don't give a damn. I have faith in all my players, period. You know, I'm not saying D'Amico Ryan didn't at any point, but I just know that boy in Detroit, he said, I don't give a damn. Like, I'm trusting my dogs. And I'm just saying, every single play, every single game, he's like, kicker who? What kicker? For the we didn't score a touchdown yet. What do we need our kicker for? To have that much faith into your players and then make it as far as you did. And even just, I know it's a regular season award, even as far as you did in the regular season, I just give more grace to him. And the Texans was a strong unit. Like, I'm talking about from offensive court all the way to special teams. They came out and did what we didn't expect, but I do think they did it as a group effort more than the coach of the Lions being like, I have full faith in my system and what we're going to do this year. And that could take us to a Super Bowl.
Fair enough. I definitely think it's going to be one of those 2 guys taking that award home this year. Yeah, I don't really see the other one. Maybe I can see the Browns coach. I can see it just because he did have to deal with 4 starting quarterbacks this year, and they got them to a 12-5 record. So I think there is credit for that for sure. But you know, Dan or D'Amico, they'll get it right.
And then most valuable player.
It's Lamar.
Finishing the show here.
It's Lamar, man. We don't even need to. I mean,
I want to hear the runner-up.
Okay, the runner-up should be Christian McCaffrey. I know some people say Josh Allen.
Oh, are you looking at a list?
I'm looking at the list. So it's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey, Dak Prescott, and Brock Purdy. I think Lamar Jackson's number 1, Christian McCaffrey's number 2, Josh Allen number 3.
Lamar was blowing these guys out. Lamar blew out Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy. He blew out Dak Prescott, right?
Did they
Did
play the
beat
Cowboys? I don't even know if they played the Cowboys.
He blew out Tua. That's who he really blew out. He blew Tua out the damn conversation.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson's the clear cut, and then Christian McCaffrey second, but he blew out Christian McCaffrey bad.
Yeah, I don't get the. I mean, I get the Josh Allen hype, but I also don't get it. He turns the ball over too much for me. That's my thing with Josh Allen.
Shout out to Josh Allen. I think he really cleaned up. He cleaned up the last. I would say last 3 games because it wasn't the last 6, but like on their winning streak, he was still acting wild at the beginning of it. But he cleaned up. He cleaned up pretty nice. So I think he cleaned up his act towards the very end of the season to make his final push for MVP. It just sucks because we have our biases based off of the playoffs. But
yeah. But even after the regular season, I was like, everyone knew Lamar Jackson number 1.
Lamar Jackson won it clearly. Christian McCaffrey deserves it if they didn't just get completely demolished by the. They didn't get completely demolished, but 33-19. I think Lamar sealed the deal on Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey there, and I think Christian McCaffrey seals the deal way over Brock Purdy.
Oh, most definitely, Christian. Yeah, most definitely.
Alrighty.
Yeah, that's the awards, man.
For a non-planned and structured show, I think we did pretty good. We made almost 50. So, any final words for the people, Elbug?
We did it. Hey, thanks again for tuning in, y'all. Don't forget to watch the video on YouTube, add a comment if you want, subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the TikTok. We'll keep coming at y'all with the good content. And can't wait to get back here next week and talk about the Super Bowl.
Yes, sir. This has been another episode of L Boogie and the Bell. I am the Bell here with L Boogie. I hope everybody has a great week. Peace.